What is going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another live edition of Bengals Breakdown. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here this evening. Sorry, we had a little postponed here. Our Ohio State host, Tom Downey, had to go home sick. So we had to do our Ohio State breaking news video. The Buckeyes, I don't know if Michael Easterwood or any of you Buckeye fans are here, but they hired Brian Hartline as their new offensive coordinator. So me and my guy Chris Daughtry had to rip a video out on that real quick. That's why we're a bit late coming on live today here for Bengals Breakdown, but we are here no less. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Should have a fun show on tap for you guys. 3 segments coming your way right around the corner. My first question to you guys, very simple. Obviously, us Bengals fans, we want to keep Ja'Marr Chase, we want to keep Tee Higgins, and we want to keep Trey Hendrickson, right? We want to keep all 3 of them. But I'm making you guys pick. I'm confident that the Bengals will get Ja'Marr Chase back, but pick one to keep between these two. Type 5 in the comments section if you're picking Tee Higgins, or type 91 if you're picking Trey Hendrickson. Usually we do the initials here, but if you type TH, how the heck am I supposed to know who you're talking about? So get the numbers in there, 5 for Tee Higgins or 91 for Trey Hendrickson. I've been sitting here thinking about this. I've gone back and forth. I'll be honest with you guys. I can't make up my mind up either. We'll talk about my opinions on this later in the show, so make sure you stick around for that. But I want to know what you guys think. Get down in the comment section. Sound off for us. Type 5 for Tee Higgins or 91 for Trey Hendrickson. I see some 91s in the comment section, and I see some 5s as well. My guy Tim Tyra is here hanging out with us. He's got 91 in the comment section, as does Dr. B, Diego Castillo, Rob with a 91. We got some 5s as well. Kenesha West. Diego, I see you putting the 91 and the 5. Yep, I know. It's a tough decision. No doubt about that. Dan the Brawler's got 5, so definitely tough. We're going to be spending some time talking about that here on today's show in regards to whether or not we would rather have Tee Higgins or Trey Hendrickson. I really hope the front office doesn't make us, pick, or doesn't pick for us, I should say. Hopefully it is both guys, but I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily have my hopes up. Trey Hendrickson also made some comments today with Pat McAfee on Radio Row down at the Super Bowl. We'll be talking about that on today's show as well. But we got to give a shout out to our sponsors today. First up is Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Remember, those terms do apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices, all guaranteed. Also, our live show is made possible by Prize Picks here this afternoon. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And remember to use that free gimme that they are giving away for Prize Picks. One of the quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, just needs more than a half passing yard. Make sure you get that into all of your Prize Pick slates for the big game. All right, another question for you guys. Name a player you want to trade for. We're going to be talking about players that the Bengals might trade, but I'm also going to be talking about guys that the Bengals might trade for. Is there anybody out there that you want on this football team? We got 3 guys that we'll be talking about here in our first segment. Let me know in the comments section any guys that you want Cincinnati to trade for. For me, talking about trades, you're looking defensively, right? Offensively, look, you got to get better, and your line's got to get better, right? Maybe sign some guys free agent-wise. Certainly going to draft some guys there. But from trade perspective, I think you're looking really at defensive players. Dr. B says Myles Garrett. Be cool, right? We talked about Myles Garrett a little bit earlier on this week here at Bengals Breakdown. I would be shocked if Cleveland traded them, not only to an AFC North team, but an in-state rival in the Cincinnati Bengals. Can't see that happening. Also can't see the Bengals giving up all the picks that are required in order to land a guy like Myles Garrett. But we'll be talking trades on today's show, so keep those names coming. Cooper Kupp, I'm fired up about that. Maybe not via a trade, but I would love to land Cooper Kupp here on the Cincinnati Bengals football team. Another question for you guys. Would you draft Jihad Campbell at number 17 overall? Jihad Campbell, of course, a linebacker for the Alabama Crimson Tide, was by far their best player defensively in 2024. Several people have mocked the linebacker to Cincinnati in the first round. Let me know. Type Y for yes, N for no. I really like Jihad Campbell. I would not complain about that pick. Jihad Campbell's a guy that can come in and start for you immediately in the NFL. I have no doubts about that. But also, you take a look at the Bengals defense, and do you really need a linebacker in the first round when you look at the issues you have at corner, the issues you have at safety, the issues you have along the defensive line? Certainly need an upgrade at linebacker. Jermaine Pratt, certainly a cut candidate for the Cincinnati Bengals. So there's some positional, frustration, I guess, with taking a linebacker. But I think Jihad Campbell's a really good player. I see a lot of ends in the comment section. Jeff Huber, my guy, is here as well. He says no, he's got no interest in taking Jihad Campbell at that 17th spot. It's K1 SWN says Jack Sawyer would be good. At 17? That's crazy. Mike Green, that's a bit of a better answer there, in my opinion. Jeff says if he's available, take Mike Green. But, yeah, we'll be talking NFL draft all offseason, obviously, but specifically on the show a little bit as well. If you want us to start today's live show, hit that thumbs up icon. If you have not done so already, we've got 59 people in here and only 20 likes. Always going for that 50-50 like ratio. We'll stick around here till we get a few more likes. Try to get 30 or at least 25. There we go, 21. Keep the likes coming. Something you should do for all of our videos here at Bengals Breakdown. And there we go. Just like that, we got 26 likes. So I appreciate all 26 of you guys that have hit that thumbs up icon. Coming up live here on Bengals Breakdown, we are going to start by talking about some trade rumors off the top in segment number 1 of our live show. So make sure you stick around for that. Going to be talking about some guys Cincinnati potentially could trade themselves, as well as guys that they might be looking to trade for. Also, a mailbag. Get your questions in. Hashtag Bengals or Super Chat. Skip the line altogether. If you don't use hashtag Bengals, my guy Chris cannot see your questions, and we can't get you a part of our show. So make sure you get those questions in now. I always forget to bring it up until now, but get those questions in. You can do it all through our first segment and even during our second segment, but that second segment is the mailbag. So get those questions in. Hashtag Bengals so we can do our mailbag. And we're going to finish it out by talking about some Cincinnati Bengals free agents. Going to be listing all of them here on today's show. All coming up live here on Bengals Breakdown. Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. Stone Shields on hand here for you guys. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down Bleacher Report's offseason trade guide for the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a couple people that they mentioned that Cincinnati should look to trade as well as trade for. We're going to be breaking down all those guys from Bleacher Report's article, so make sure you stick around for that. Also, by the way, Trey Hendrickson sounded off with Pat McAfee down at Radio Row at the Super Bowl. We're going to be talking about his comments and what potentially that could mean for Cincinnati going forward. Before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you have not done so already. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV. Hopefully, we can get to 16,500 subscribers here with this video. Only 78 away from making that happen. All of our Bengals Breakdown content, obviously here on Bengals Breakdown, will be with you all off season long. So hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. All right, start with the cap here. Bengals currently, according to Spotrac, have $46.6 million in salary cap space. That's about to skyrocket because they're going to make several cuts. A lot of guys that are currently under contract with Cincinnati, they're not going to be back in 2025. There really is no doubt about that. I wouldn't be surprised if this got up near the $90 million range as far as the salary cap goes, so keep that in mind. Bleacher Report listed the 3 most important positions as far as positional need for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2025. And I really don't have any disagreements with any of this. As you can see, all of it is along the defensive side of the football. Cornerback, interior defensive line, as well as edge rusher, additionally, is the 3 positions that Bleacher Report listed out. Here are their top trade assets: Tee Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, and Alex Cappa, which is a bit of a surprise to me to see Alex Cappa on this list. Really no surprise to see Tee Higgins there, right? If they tag Tee Higgins again, as you can see there, it's tag and trade. If they tag Tee Higgins again, that cap number or that salary number goes from $21.8 million to $26.2 million. Obviously, that is a significant chunk of change. So when you're talking about Tee Higgins, the Cincinnati Bengals team's either going to tag him or potentially tag and trade him, or they're going to extend him. They're not just going to let him walk and bank on, the compensatory pick formula, trying to get a third-round pick. No, that would be silly. They're not just going to let him walk into free agency in March. They're going to make a move when it comes to Tee Higgins. Also, Trey Hendrickson, somebody that could potentially be on the trade block for Cincinnati as well. Obviously, Hendrickson, his value is never going to be higher, right? Coming off the 17.5 sacks he had in 2024 was unbelievable. I've said multiple times on the show. Imagine if this Bengals defense didn't have Trey Hendrickson. They were one of the worst, if not the worst, defenses in the National Football League. Imagine if they didn't have him. They wouldn't be able to stop anybody. So, obviously, he is very, very important. But in his 30s now, the Bengals hate paying guys that are in their 30s. You never really see it. And keep in mind, he requested a trade last spring before the 2024 season. So he certainly could be a guy that Cincinnati looks to move off of. Told you we were going to talk about what he said with Pat McAfee in regards to his future down at Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Here is what Trey Hendrickson had to say. He said, "I would have preferred to have heard it differently than my dad texting me." What the heck's he talking about? Well, when Duke Tobin made those comments down with Kelsey Conway at the Senior Bowl, he's talking about that. So that's major red flag. Cincinnati organization not, communicating well with their players. What else is new? If it's something we can agree on in terms, that would be great. Ideally, my wife and I would love to stay in Cincinnati. The goal is to win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati. What that looks like this season, if it's something we can agree on in terms, that'd be great. If it's something that helps the Bengals win a Super Bowl by getting picks or anything like that, I want to help Cincinnati win a Super Bowl, whether I am here or not. Now, Trey Hendrickson isn't really the most vocal guy, right, when it comes to this kind of stuff. You've seen guys in his position in the past really be divas. That's not really how Trey Hendrickson operates. Now, with that being said, he certainly is sending a message to the Cincinnati Bengals. And the message he's sending is this: hey, either extend me or trade me. Don't, leave me hanging all offseason long. He wants an answer from the Cincinnati Bengals front office, and I can't blame him. He deserves an answer. He had 17.5 sacks this season and is one of the best defensive players in the National Football League. The main thing that I am concerned with when it comes to Trey Hendrickson is the lack of communication with the front office. Why does this front office keep doing this year in and year out? They have to find better ways to do that. How many players have come out that have played for the Cincinnati Bengals that say, yeah, it's pretty much just jokes when you're talking about the Blackburn family and how they handle their business? They got to be better. They got to be more professional, and there's no reason they shouldn't be having these conversations with their best players. Thank goodness there's talking to Joe Burrow, or allegedly, according to Duke Tobin, they're having conversations with Joe Burrow. They need to be better at staying in contact with their players. Plenty more on Trey Hendrickson in future videos, but also getting back to the trade assets here from Bleacher Report, Alex Cappa is a guy that they listed. Again, kind of a surprise to me to see Cappa on this list, but releasing Alex Cappa creates $8 million for you, but if you trade him, you get the same savings. So really, it would benefit Cincinnati if they were able to find a trade partner for Alex Cappa. Bleacher Report claims that there will be teams out there that are interested in Alex Cappa. I find that pretty hard to believe. To me, he's very clearly not a starter, but keep in mind, when he played down in Tampa, he was a pretty good player, but these past couple years in Cincinnati have certainly been rough. All right, leads us to the pinned comment of today's video. Name a player you want to trade. Not trade for. Name a player you want to trade that is currently a Cincinnati Bengal. Let me know in the comments section. Right now, sound off for us. That ad comes through on YouTube. Totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. All right, top trade targets here for Cincinnati according to Bleacher Report. First up is Jaire Alexander. And I really like Jaire Alexander a lot, to be completely honest with you. Jaire Alexander kind of gets a bad rap because he's a very talkative corner, but a lot of those corners are very, very talkative. I think he backs it up, has struggled to, stay on the field recently. I'm not concerned with him getting up there in age quite yet. Has been with Green Bay throughout the entirety of his career. Really good player, former first-round pick out of Louisville. And I believe you need a veteran cornerback to come in. I've said that for a while. We'll see if they end up bringing Mike Hilton back or not, but I think you need somebody back there to really help you out. Yeah, you got some promising guys, really, with Josh Newton and Dax Hill. I don't know about Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner. There's some question marks there, but you really got to retool that cornerback room. Obviously, you got to draft and develop there as well, but I think you need some new bodies in there. And again, I'm really confident in the things that Jair Alexander can do out there on the football field. He's a veteran presence, he's a leader, and he backs up his talk with really good play. Now, if I'm Green Bay, I'm really trying to hold on to him, and I wouldn't be looking at moving off of him. But again, if you're Cincinnati, you definitely should be in the market for a guy like Jair Alexander. Again, we'll see if Mike Hilton is brought back or not. He is a free agent. Bengals have a decision to make in that regard, but I'm really intrigued by the prospect, of bringing in Jair Alexander. We'll continue with our show here in a moment, but first, want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time, as today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time is a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. A couple of my favorite features on Game Time: the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. Secondly, the event cancellation protection. You're going to a concert, artist cancels on you, that's fine. Game Time's not going to hose you over. They're going to make sure you get your money back. Also, the all-in pricing feature. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of the surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, all guaranteed. We'll keep it here with the Green Bay Packers. Next guy up, that Bleacher Report. Again, this is all Bleacher Report suggestions. Quay Walker, linebacker for the Green Bay Packers, is the next guy on their list. Here's what Bleacher Report had to say about Quay Walker. Linebackers don't typically cost much in a trade. For the Packers, this would be more about getting a pick in return for a player they don't intend to extend anyway. But the Bengals would be getting an exciting addition at a position where they need more athleticism alongside Logan Wilson. Walker has struggled at times for Green Bay. He needs to clean up his tackling, and he's still refining his game, but the prospect of adding more length and athleticism to pair with Wilson could make this a better defense next season. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Name a player you want to trade for. Let me know in the comments. Earlier, it was name a player you want to trade. I want to know what a player you want to trade for. Sound off for us right now. So here is the trade idea from Bleacher Report. Cincinnati would receive Quay Walker, and the Packers would receive a 2025 fourth-round pick. Bengals love their picks. We know this. It was a bit of a shock to see him get rid of a seventh-round pick at the deadline for Khalil Herbert, right? So not exactly sure they're going to be fired up about potentially moving off another pick. It's not something this team does. I do think Quay Walker still has a lot of potential. Maybe his career hasn't panned out the way he was hoping to this point. Former first-round guy out of Georgia, has won a national championship before. I think he's been a solid piece for Jeff Hafley's defense. When I look at Al Golden coming in here as the defensive coordinator, obviously the word that we always talk about with Al Golden is development. I think he'd be able to develop a guy like Quay Walker. But the issue is, what are you going to do at linebacker if you're the Cincinnati Bengals? Logan Wilson is a mainstay. There is no doubt about that. Now, Jermaine Pratt, I was pretty confident that he was going to get cut. But then you bring back Al Golden. So now I'm not quite as confident. Pratt, of course, played his best football under Al Golden. So we'll see. But I think the linebacker room is going to look a lot different. I'd be surprised if Akeem Davis-Gaither came back for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think adding a linebacker is a good idea by Bleacher Report. Not sure Cincinnati would do that via a trade. Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. Trying to get to 600 followers by the end of the month. Help me out. Give me a follow at StoneShields_. Last guy here, David. All right. Hold on. I got it pulled up here. Bear with me. Onyemata. David Onyemata is this last guy, defensive tackle here for the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a guy that was from Nigeria, I believe, came over to America, and he's been playing some solid ball for a while now. He's up there in age. Really not fired up about this whatsoever. The prospect of bringing in a guy like Onyemata. There we go, Onyemata. Not really fired up about that. I think you got a lot of youth there along the interior of your defensive line, and you're looking to kind of develop that youth. I mean, maybe if you can get more of a splashy signing, but last time you tried to bring in a guy that's been around the block a little bit, i.e. Sheldon Rankins, that blew up in your face. So I'm not really sure that Cincinnati wants to go down that path once again. Mailbag time here at Bengals Breakdown. Get your questions in. Hashtag Bengals. Or remember, Super Chat, skip the line altogether, and you will get on the show. How are we looking, Chris? Do we have enough? We have enough involvement here from a questions perspective? Okay. Keep the questions coming. Got about over 100 people in here now. Questions coming. We got a mailbag coming your guys' way. Anything you want to talk about. Bengals off-season stuff, I'm here for it. Trade talk, here. Draft, here. Joe Burrow, here. Here for it all. So get your questions in. Hashtag Bengals or Super Chat. Make sure you guys share today's video for me on social media if you have not done so already. Any platform you want to share it on. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. That works for us. Boss has said we got to get our shares numbers up here in the month of February. Going for over 30 shares on this video. We actually were able to do that on last mailbag. Let's see if we can do it again. Share today's video for me on social media right now. First question here from my guy, Tim Tyra. Do you think the Cleveland Browns would be ignorant enough to trade Myles Garrett to the Cincinnati Bengals? Unfortunately, Tim, I do not. And look, the prospect of having Myles Garrett, I always want to call him Myles Murphy, Myles Garrett on your defense, yeah, it's exciting. It's one of the best defensive players in the league. It's the reigning defensive player of the year. This guy has caused you trouble throughout the entirety of his career. Duke Tobin, he's not going to give up the picks required to get Myles Garrett, and I don't know if I would either, to be completely honest with you. That's a lot of picks that you would need to give up, a lot of ammo to give up. I think James Rapine, his idea of tagging and trading Tee Higgins there, right, and then sending a first-round pick, maybe you think about doing that, but then do you really want to send T to Cleveland? Come on, you got to do better by that. You don't want to do that to Tee Higgins is basically the point. So it's a valid question. It's fun to fantasize about, but at the end of the day, I don't think Myles Garrett's coming to Cincinnati, and that's okay. I think the thing that we need to be celebrating is that hopefully he's not going to be with Cleveland anymore. CWT, if we can't really afford Higgins without not re-signing Trey Hendrickson, would you want to get Kip, I assume Cup, to replace him, or is he a must-bathe? Not sure what that means, CWT, but I think I get the kind of general point you are making here. I would be fired up to have Cooper Kupp on this football team. People think he's washed. Yeah, the injuries are a concern. Yeah, the money's not ideal. But I would love to have Cooper Kupp here with Joe Burrow. I think him and Joe Burrow would fit great together. And even if you're able to bring back Tee Higgins, and even if you're able to extend Jamar Chase, I would still be looking to add Cooper Kupp. If you had all three of those guys out there offensively, unstoppable. You're already borderline unstoppable as is. But I think adding Kupp certainly would be awesome. And we'll see in regards to Trey Hendrickson. Whether or not he is back or not. Joe Burrow wants to keep all of them, and I think a lot of people in the media, in the local media, think the Bengals need to keep all of them as well. We'll see if the front office can execute. Stanley Dixon, if you had to pick between Higgins and Hendrickson, who would it be? Thank you for asking that question, Stanley. We actually asked that a little bit earlier on, and it's a great question, Stanley. I've gone back and forth about this so many different times. It sucks to have to pick one or the other. And ultimately, I have landed on Tee Higgins if I have to pick one over the other. Why? Because Joe Burrow really, really wants Tee Higgins, and I do not want to do anything to jeopardize my relationship. When I say my, I mean the Cincinnati Bengals relationship with Joe Burrow. And letting Tee Higgins go, that really would set off a guy like Joe Burrow. Again, hopefully you don't have to pick. Hopefully Chase is good, Hendrickson's good, and Higgins is good. But if you do have to pick, I would lean Tee Higgins because of the things that you've been able to accomplish with him offensively, and you're really retooling your whole defense. So if you lose your best player, fine. Maybe you could trade him, get a lot of stuff for him. That certainly is an option. But if I had to pick, I would go with Tee Higgins. Not an easy decision, but that's who I would go with. Now your turn. You got to pick. One or the other. Pick one to keep. Type 5 for me in the comments section if you think Tee Higgins. Type 91 if you think Trey Hendrickson. That ad comes here on YouTube. Totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do you think Emeka Egbuka could fall to number 17 from Epic MX? Yeah, I think Egbuka will probably be available at that number 17 overall selection. It's funny, my buddy Austin Elmore was talking about this on the radio, the prospect of Cincinnati taking a receiver in the first round. And, I mean, I don't love it considering all the help you need defensively. But I think when he was talking about that, he was thinking about Emeka Egbuka. And, it's tough because you took a receiver in the third round last year, Jermaine Burton. How'd that work out? Oh, yeah, that was awful. Probably going to continue to be awful, right? So do you want to go back to the draft the year after, take another receiver? Also, Charlie Jones appears to be a whiff as well. I don't know if I'm taking a receiver that early on. I think if I'm going to draft one, I would wait till later. This isn't Emeka Egbuka is going to be a solid NFL receiver, but he hasn't really moved the needle a ton. And on an offense that's going to feature Jamar Chase and hopefully still Tee Higgins, I think I would probably pass on Emeka Egbuka. From Evan. Feel like defense should be the focus this draft, but I saw a mock showing Genty coming to Cincinnati. Think it's a possibility or would be a valuable grab? That's interesting. I have not seen that mock to this point. It doesn't really make any sense to me. You have your running back. Chase Brown's your guy. You got one. You hit on the fifth round a couple of years ago out of Illinois. He's awesome, and he's going to continue to get better and better and better. And I think you draft the running back late, right? We'll see if you bring back Khalil Herbert, what you do with that. We'll see if you cut Zach Moss, right? See if you keep Travion Williams. You got a lot of questions to answer rather at that running back spot. But personally, it's a hard pass on Ashton Jeanty. You've got all kinds of issues that you need to address, particularly on defense. I'm going to pass on a running back at that spot. We'll continue with our show here in a moment. But first, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game with one of the starting quarterbacks who will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. This, of course, is what we are working with here. There is that freebie I was just alluding to there with Patrick Mahomes. More than a half a passing yard. Also going with the more than Saquon Barkley over 112 and a half rushing yards. And Xavier Worthy more than 5.5 rushing yards as well. That's what we've crafted up here at Chat Sports. Check out the promos tab to tail any of our super sweet Millie winners. Big game lineups. You can tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. So download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, from Easy Silo, I think that Al Golden will turn Cam Taylor-Britt into the top 3 cornerback he is supposed to be. Wow. I hope so. I really hope so, Easy Silo. But I don't really know. I'm kind of out on Cam Taylor-Britt, which is unfortunate because I was ecstatic when they when they drafted him, right? Because, he's a guy at Nebraska. He go up and hit you. His ball skills, obviously, are very good. We saw week 2, the interception he had against the Chiefs, immaculate. I hope so. I hope you're right, but I really don't have confidence. He's going to be back. I would be shocked if they cut him. I think he'll be back, but I'm really hoping that he's not a starter for you week 1. But we'll see. I do like your confidence in Al Golden. Fernando Taylor. Thoughts on Jihad Campbell? I really like Jihad Campbell. Of course, played his college ball at the University of Alabama. Was their best player on defense in 2024. Absolutely no doubt about it. If he's sitting there at 17, which he might be, probably will be, I think you definitely consider it, right? It depends on, where your board is at. Obviously, you're going to have, some pass rushers up there on your board. Maybe Malachi Starks. Hopefully, he's there as well. Obviously, the kind of the controversy with taking a guy like Jihad Campbell is, linebacker. You've got other more pressing needs there on defense. But I'm also looking for a guy that can come in right away and start for me week 1. No projects. No more projects, especially not defensively. And Jihad Campbell, he's ready to rock right now. And he's a guy that could make an impact immediately. All right, you're the GM here. Would you draft Jahad Campbell at number 17 overall? Let me know in the comments. Type Y for yes or N for no. From Welcome to the Jungle, do you think the Bengals will trade for Kyle Pitts? Interesting question. You got some questions to answer at tight end, right? Mike Gesicki, his value's never been higher. There's going to be teams in free agency that are going to throw a lot of money his way. It's going to be hard to retain him, although I would love to retain Mike Gesicki. Eric Gall Jr. out for the season after the setback with his knee. So tight end now becomes a spot that you are focused on. Don't think you're going to trade for one. Kyle Pitts, thought he was going to be better than he is. I think he's still a very quality tight end here in the NFL, but I would pass on that, and I think Cincinnati would as well. Who's your dream 17 pick for the NFL draft? Easy for me, Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks, absolutely no doubt about that. And you see more of these mock drafts come out, and the more it seems like people around the league think he's going to be available there. You've seen him slip into the 20s. I've even seen a couple where he slips out of the first round, which is just mind-boggling for me. Malachi Starks, I take him. I think you lick wounds with Geno Stone. And I really hope Al Golden doesn't try to run it back with Geno Stone. I would cut him personally. I know it's, harsh, but that's just what I would do. And then I would run out Malachi Starks week 1. That sounds perfect to me. If you are enjoying this mailbag, we appreciate you. Sub now for more. YouTube.com/BengalsTV. Segment that we will always have here on our live shows. I've had a lot of fun with them. Don't miss out on any future mailbags. Hit that sub button. YouTube.com/BengalsTV. Dalton Mitchell. I know there have been conversations about tagging and trading Higgins, but could we do the same with Hendrickson? Well, you can't tag Trey Hendrickson, but you certainly could trade him. That certainly is something that could be in the cards. I would consider trading Trey Hendrickson. Again, hopefully you don't have to pick in terms of keeping one or the other or what have you. I said, earlier in this mailbag, if I had to pick one, I would keep Higgins. And, if you have Trey Hendrickson, you could get a lot for Trey Hendrickson. You really could, right? He's sacking in the NFL right now, 17.5 of those boys. So I don't know if you'd get more picks or perhaps, other pieces from another team. But trading to Trey Hendrickson is a real possibility and something Cincinnati should heavily consider. CWT, do you think Mims was the right pick in retrospect? Absolutely. Bengals hit that one out of the park. They were due, right? They've missed on several guys in the draft. But Amarius Mims, he is the right tackle of the future. I absolutely loved everything about him this year. He's only going to continue to get better. Hopefully, he can develop a nice relationship with Scott Peters, your new offensive line coach. But I'm really fired up about the future for Amarius Mims. Name a player you want to trade. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Get those names down there. Sorry, Chris, that wasn't the best hard pause there. That was not the best. Get the names coming. So I cycle through some of these here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up icon, folks. Got about 120 people in here hanging out. Welcome to the jungle. We weren't able to get to this one in the mailbag, but do you think we will be able to draft cornerback in first round? What position do you want to draft? Yeah, it's a good question. I'm taking defense. Like if there's a cornerback there you like, you take him, right? Safety, obviously, if it's Malachi Starks, I'm fired up about that. I don't really have a position exactly as long as it's within the defense. I wouldn't be too ticked off if you took a linebacker. I know some people would be, but really anywhere. I mean, your defense stinks. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrible. So, corner, safety, linebacker, DT, edge, any of that's good with me, to be completely honest with you. Dr. B says, would have drafted Jared Verse over Mims. I mean, fair, but then what? Like, Joe Burrow wouldn't have been able to do the things he did this year without Amarius Mims, right? Trent Brown goes down week 3 with the patellar tendon. And then what? You're running out Cody Ford with Volson? That would have been bad without Amarius Mims. So, I get it. Jared Verse, unbelievable player. Be nice to have him opposite Trey Hendrickson, but unfortunately things just did not pan out that way. As we get set for our final segment here on Bengals Breakdown. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down all of the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals free agents. Every single one of them we're going to be talking about here on today's show. Stick around. I'll be giving my opinion on whether or not I think Cincinnati should bring these guys back or let them walk in free agency. Before we get into that, we got a like battle here, a February like battle with our Ravens channel here at Chat Sports. We did this late in 2024, and we're coming back to it here in February. We have a slight lead here, 5 days in or so, or probably 7 days in or so, I should say. Got about 500 like lead over Baltimore. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up icon, something you should do for all of our videos here at Bengals Breakdown. We appreciate it. First guy we will talk about here is B.J. Hill. Let's start on defense here. Hill, of course, 30 years of age. It's been well documented. Cincinnati does not like to give guys an additional contract when they are above the age of 30. The new defensive staff that works against a guy like B.J. Hill, right? Obviously, Al Golden has been here before, but there's lots of new faces there on that defensive staff, and I think that works against him. The Bengals aren't going to pay him that much, right? So it comes down to whether or not other teams out there have a lot of interest in B.J. Hill and the things that he can do for you out there on the football field. If there is a market for him whatsoever, I think he 100% is gone. He didn't really offer much from a pass rush perspective, and also keep in mind you drafted his replacements, right? You're looking at him right there. Chris Jenkins Jr., McKinley Jackson. Those guys were brought in to replace B.J. Hill. His run defense definitely above average. And, it was great to have him here in Cincinnati. It really was. He contributed to a lot of success here with the Cincinnati Bengals, but I think it is time to move on, and I think the Bengals will move in that direction and move off B.J. Hill. Joseph Ossai, next guy up here. A couple of noteworthy things about Joseph Ossai. He's 25 years old. He will draw interest, certainly, from teams around the league. 25-year-old pass rusher with some sacks to his name. Certainly something a lot of teams find intriguing. Also of note, he beat out Myles Murphy, right? Myles Murphy, your 2023 first-round pick. When, Hubbard was kind of phased out of what you were doing defensively, Ossai went and took that job. I think that certainly is something that is noteworthy. I'm very confident, and I say this very clearly, that I don't think the Bengals should spend big on Joseph Ossai. I really don't. He won from time to time, but he didn't win enough. When he was able to get home, it was really just from effort and continuing to work through the play. I don't think from a skill perspective necessarily beating guys, rushing the quarterback. I don't think, he really has that great of an ability. Also, keep in mind that David Mulgeta is his agent. That was, Tee Higgins' former agent. David Mulgeta, Jesse Bates' agent, right? He hasn't had a player or client come to terms with the deal with Cincinnati before. I am moving off of Joseph Ossai, and I hope Cincinnati does as well. He's going to garner a decent-sized contract in free agency. Bengals better not give it to him. Next guy, Mike Hilton. This one's tricky. This one, I think, is definitely the toughest one we have talked about yet. So kind of to recap here, I'm ready to move off B.J. Hill and move off Joseph Ossai. Mike Hilton, he's really good in the run, right? He's really, really good in the run. This guy's 31 years old, but he hasn't really shown his age too much, but guarding receivers he certainly has. Anarumo went off him on third down. He was off the field for third down, so that certainly is something that is noteworthy. You've got young corners all over the place, which in my opinion, that's more reason to keep him, because I think you need at least one veteran back there, and I would bring him back at the right price. I really would. You got to make sure that you kind of separate your feelings when you're obviously going through with these negotiations. He's been a part of incredible success here in Cincinnati. He's one of the faces of this Bengals defense over the past couple of years. You think about that Super Bowl run, that AFC Championship run the year after. Really incredible stuff there from Mike Hilton. It's going to be a tough call. Me personally, I would bring him back at the right price, but if another team wants to throw a bunch of cash at him, you can't afford to do that. Pin comment time. What would you do with Mike Hilton? Let me know in the comments. Type K if you want to keep him. L if you want to let him leave. That ad comes here on YouTube. Totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments and sound off for us. Next up here is Von Bell. So he actually is only 30 years of age, a year younger than Mike Hilton, but he looks, the age is catching up a lot quicker with Von Bell. Look, I love the experiment, right? He was great in Cincinnati, his first run here, and then you went to Carolina. You kind of moved off him then because, he was showing age. You brought him back. I was fired up about it. it didn't work out. It is what it is. Second half of the year, you went off him. You went with Jordan Battle, and that's just kind of the way things worked for you from Von Bell's perspective. I would be shocked if he was back, and I would say there is probably little to no chance that we see Von Bell back in 2025, but certainly had an incredible run with the Cincinnati Bengals. Akeem Davis-Gaither, next guy up on our list here. Look, he had an opportunity here. He was playing under a one-year deal. The Bengals gave him a one-year deal going into last season. When Logan Wilson went down, he had an opportunity to come in and really make a statement and really make himself some money for the future. He was not able to do that. In fact, when you're talking yards after catch as a linebacker, that's something that, Logan Wilson struggled with before he got hurt, but it got even worse when Akeem Davis-Gaither came in there. There's some valuable special team stuff he can do for you, but new coordinator, new staff defensively, you're looking for some new guys in that room. I would be shocked if the Cincinnati Bengals opted to bring back Akeem Davis-Gaither. Let's pivot to offense here. Mike Gesicki is really, I think, the most important free agent you're thinking about here if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, he's a tight end, but he's not really a tight end, right? How many times do you see him have his hand in the dirt this year? I think it was like 8%. Something crazy like that, which was the lowest out of all NFL tight ends. He's really more of a slot receiver. He's awesome. We loved everything about him this past season. There really is no doubt about that. But keep in mind, the issue with Mike Gesicki is he has missed out on a lot of money in the past. That last year in Miami was kind of weird. Then he goes to New England, which was a disaster, where he didn't have a quarterback, right? And this is what happens with tight ends, right? When you play with Joe Burrow, you come here for a year, you have the best year of your career, and then you have an opportunity to make some more money, right? We saw this with C.J. Uzomah. We saw it with Hayden Hurst, and even to some degree, I've seen it with Tanner Hudson a little bit as well. And look, there's going to be a team that wants to throw a lot of money at Mike Gesicki. If that's the case, I think he should take it, move on. Again, he's missed out on money in the past with Miami and New England. I would love to have Mike Gesicki back in 2025. I am not sure you're going to be able to do it, but I definitely think this Bengals offense, or organization rather, should do their best. We'll continue with our free agent breakdown here in a moment, but first, want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time. Today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time is a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Filters out all the fluff. Show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. My two favorite features on Game Time. The seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. Spring training right around the corner. You want to go see those Cincinnati Redlegs down in Goodyear, Arizona. Do so via the Game Time app. The best place to buy tickets to any single event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, all guaranteed. Next up here is Cody Ford, sticking to the offensive side of the football. Obviously, the Bengals really like his versatility, right? What he was able to do on the interior. This is a guy that's a guard, but he bumped out the tackle for you a lot. And he was horrible in pass protection, though. Absolutely horrid in pass pro this season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously an area you're looking to improve. Now, the organization really likes Cody Ford. They like him a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to bring him back, but I really wouldn't be trying to bring him back, to be completely honest with you. I'm looking for new faces, new bodies in there in your interior, your offensive line. But if you want him to be your sixth offensive lineman, I guess that is okay, but he better not be walking out there on week one as a starter. Next up here, Cam Sample. Defensive end for the Cincinnati Bengals. If you forgot about Cam Sample, it's because he tore his Achilles in camp, which obviously was really, really unfortunate. This guy was the same draft class as Joseph Osai, and that's one of my hot takes here is if he doesn't get hurt, I think this Bengals defense is a lot better. Do they make the playoffs? I don't know if they're that much better, but I really like Cam Sample. I think he's a lot better than Joseph Osai. And while he's rehabbing this injury, you're going to be able to bring him back on a vet minimum deal. And I think Cincinnati absolutely should do that, and I think they will do that as well. Hopefully Cam Sample can continue to rehab his Achilles and be able to make an impact for this team next season. Marco Wilson, next up here. You brought him in during the season, played previously with the New England Patriots. He's a young guy, right? Still has a lot of football ahead of him. As far as, being an answer for you at that cornerback position, I don't think he is, but I could see you bringing him back And he's not going to garner a big contract whatsoever, so you could bring him back, let him come to training camp, let him try to compete for a roster spot. I am open to doing that with Marco Wilson. We'll be here all off season long. Don't miss any of our coverage here at Bengals Breakdown. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Jay Tufele, next up here, interior defensive line guy for the Cincinnati Bengals. This guy was a cut candidate coming into the season. Credit to him for making the team, gotten through it. He had opportunities throughout the season to make an impact. Wasn't great, but he was credit to him for fighting through and making the roster. I would be surprised if he was back. You got plenty of young guys at that defensive tackle spot. McKinley Jackson, Chris Jenkins Jr., all of which are going to have a role going forward. I think Jay Tufele probably going to get phased out of the organization. Joe Bacci here, next guy we will discuss here at linebacker. This guy's a really good special teams player for you, really good special teams player, and I think you might want to keep some continuity on that unit, to be honest with you, moving forward in 2025. And you could use a little bit of linebacker depth as well, thinking about the uncertainty that you have there. You're probably going to, Akeem Davis-Gaither probably going to leave. You got a decision to make whether or not you're cutting Jermaine Pratt or not. You got Muma Jongmeda, your undrafted guy out of Wisconsin from last year, who I really like. But I would like to keep Joe Bacci. He's not going to cost you much whatsoever. Solid special teams player for you. I'd bring him back. Trent Brown, interesting one here. We used to spend so much time talking about Trent Brown, but they tore that patellar tendon. I believe it was week 3 or 4 in the NFL season. We really haven't heard from him since. So it's going to be kind of up to him what he decides. I think there's been some speculation that he might just hang it up and retire. We'll have to see what kind of shape he's in after he rehabs this injury. I think there's a chance you bring him back, but more than likely you're probably going to move off of Trent Brown as well. Tanner Hudson, next guy up on this list. He's a guy that was a solid backup for you at that tight end spot. I think he gets a bad rap. And partially my fault for coming on here talking about him the way I did after week 1, right? And he's really, if you had to pick one reason why you lost the Patriots game, yeah, there were several reasons. You didn't show up ready to play, yada yada. If he doesn't fumble that ball, you don't lose that game probably. So, I think he did some stuff in good spots. He also gets bad rap for the 2-point play in Baltimore. I don't really understand that. I don't think that was his fault whatsoever. You should be more mad at the officials for not making the right call there on Joe Burrow, but I digress. Tanner Hudson, solid backup. You got questions there at tight end, not knowing what you're going to have from Mike Gesicki perhaps leaving, and Eric All Jr. missing the season as well. I think the Bengals probably bring back Tanner Hudson. Khalil Herbert, interesting one here. Of course, you traded for Herbert at the trade deadline, getting rid of a 7th-round pick in the process. Probably going to move on from Khalil Herbert. The organization likes him. Burrow likes him. Real cerebral guy, does some good things for you. I think you're going to retool this running back room. In fact, Chase Brown might be the only guy on this depth chart that really is back for the Cincinnati Bengals football team. I would imagine they're going to draft a guy late, but I wouldn't be surprised if they opted to either bring back Herbert or not cut Zach Moss. Maybe one of those two guys would be back, but I'm probably going to move off of Khalil Herbert. Probably going to move off this next guy too as well, Travion Williams. He's had a really nice run here in Cincinnati. Believe it or not, did not have any carries in 2024. I believe he's been here for about 6 years or so. People like what he can do on special teams. Clearly, he's a great teammate and great in the film room and the locker room, things like that, if he's been able to stick around this long. But that may have been his final year for in Cincinnati for Travion Williams. Chris Evans, next up on this list. He's a guy that when he was drafted out of Michigan several years ago had high expectations that he was going to be able to come in and make an impact. For whatever reason, was not able to get out on the football field. I think the coaches just didn't trust him. Not going to compare him to Jermaine Burton like that at all, because that's a totally different story. But, some issues there, executing the playbook, I guess, was kind of an issue for Chris Evans. Hopefully he was going to, come in and, make up for that here in 2024. Unfortunately, he gets hurt. He tears his patellar tendon. Cincinnati probably moving off of him. Cal Adamitis, your long snapper here. Yeah, you had some issues in the kicking game, but it really wasn't because of snap issues. I think the Bengals really like Cal Adamitis. No unplayable snaps in 2024. He'll be back next season for the Bengals. Cade York, a restricted free agent here. He was replaced, by the way, Cal Adamitis was a restricted free agent as well. He was replaced. He replaced Evan McPherson. Had some good moments. Did have the missed kick against Denver. We'll see what his future looks like. But ultimately, they're going to go back to Evan McPherson at that kicker position. Now, the ERFAs that we will get into here, there are 3 guys, Ryan Rico, Cam Grandy, and Jackson Kirkland. The Bengals already signed Cam Grandy, but the way this works with the ERFAs, you have exclusive rights. They're exclusive rights free agents. And the way this works is basically you give them a vet min, and their only option is to come back and play for you or not play football because you have exclusive rights to them. People really like, organizations really like exclusive rights, free agents. Bengals already signed Cam Grandy. He will be back. That was announced a couple of weeks ago. And they will do the same with Ryan Rico and Jackson Kirkland as well. Name a free agent you want back. Let me know. I should see a lot of Mike Gesicki's in the comment section of today's video. That's who I want back. We'll see if you're able to make it work. You got a lot of stuff to sort through if you're the Bengals front office this offseason. But really would like to have Mike Gesicki back. Yeah, there it is. I see him in the comment section. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well. We will be back here next Wednesday. Hopefully we will be a little bit more on time. Again, apologies that we were a little bit late today. I had to cover some Ohio State breaking news. I know some Buckeye fans are in here pretty fired up about that hire or that promotion of Brian Hartline. But we will be back next Wednesday, probably around 4:15 or 4:30. Hope you can join us. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.